Yo, what's good with y'all? It's your boy Nick, back with another video. Today we are going to be reacting to the disappointing career of Cam Reddish. Let's get right into it.
Cam Reddish went from being one of the best high school basketball players in the country and the 10th pick in the 2019 draft to not even being in the league anymore at just 25 years old. There's still a chance he could join a team in the coming season, but after being waived by the Lakers and replaced with a dude that came out of the G League, it's not looking good. He's had multiple opportunities on multiple different teams, and still, he's never reached the heights that people thought he would. By now, most people have seen the clips of NBA players saying that the toughest player they had to guard in high school was Cam Reddish. He's gotten a lot of praise from some really big names in the league, and people even thought he was going to be the best one in that big three at Duke. So how did Cam go from that to basically out of the league in only 6 years? Well, let's take a look. Like I said already, high school Cam Reddish was literally on another level than everybody else. At 6'7", he had the perfect wing build from the beginning. But not only did he have the size, he was athletic and could score in so many different ways. As a senior, he averaged over 22 points a game for Westtown High School and was also named Pennsylvania's Mr. Basketball. Cam was already dominating before that though during school ball and especially AAU, where his name was really put on the map. Of course, he was named a McDonald's All-American and all that stuff as well. His shot creation was incredible, he just had an extremely smooth game for a high schooler in general. ESPN had him listed as the third best player in the class of 2018, only behind Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett. And funny enough, all three of them would actually team up at Duke, which was unheard of. And as much as it sounded like an absolute powerhouse on paper, I think this would go on to hurt Cam's career more than it helped. Although building a freshman big three was cool and drew a lot of hype, especially with Zion there, it made Cam take a big step back. Instead of going from being the main guy in high school to being the main guy in college, he would be the third option on that team. Of course, he didn't know that was going to be the case until he actually got there, and he was also the first of the three to announce his commitment. Regardless, there were still a good amount of people that thought Cam was going to be the leader. He had very high expectations going into that year. However, he ended up having a pretty up and down season.
What if you can create your
I ain't
own
gonna lie, coming into the
website
league,
by saying this is
I'm pretty sure Cam was compared to like Rudy Gay, Paul George. Like he was like that type of wing that could go get his own bucket.
With a 22.4 steal game and a huge win against Kentucky, and then right after dropped 25 points and 7 threes against Army. It was a really strong start, and while he continued to have some big time performances, he also had some pretty rough ones as well. He had a 27-point game against UNC when Zion was hurt, and also helped lead Duke to a big time win over Florida State where he hit the game winning shot. He had 23 double-digit scoring games, 18 with 2 or more steals, and ended multiple games with a good amount of rebounds and assists. But then there were his bad games. Cam had 13 games where he scored less than 10 points and had 15 games where he shot under 30% from the field. He shot 1 for 11 against Georgia Tech, 2 for 15 against NC State, 1 for 8 against Clemson, 2 for 12 against Hartford, and so on. Not to mention, he also finished the season with 26 more turnovers than assists. There were 15 games where he finished with 3 or less total made shots. He ended the season averaging 13.5 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists a game.
I ain't gonna lie, that's a solid stat line to be the number 3 option on the team. And I feel like the problem with Cam's career, I mean, he's always not been the number 1 option and always not had as much playing time as he needed to have.
Which isn't bad for a third option, but he also shot only 35% from the field and 33% from 3. His efficiency was poor across the board and was clearly not on the same level as Zion or RJ. It definitely bothered him taking a back seat, but you can't really say that's the only reason he struggled, because Zion missed.
Did that just say 29 to 82? Nah.
6 games when he hurt his knee from his shoe absolutely exploding, and during those 6 games, he averaged less points and his shoe absolutely.
Now, whoever brand this is, they I don't even know. How in the world is that possible right there? The whole shoe breaking off his foot? That's crazy.
Exploded. 34% from the field, but 36% from 3. He was able to knock down his threes, but that was about it. When he finally got his moment to step up, he technically got worse. But despite the up and down season, he still decided to declare for the draft. Should he have gone back for another year? Probably. At the same time though, I can't say I really blame him. At the time, college athletes weren't being paid, and even though he struggled throughout the year, he was still projected to be a lottery pick. And that's exactly what happened when the Hawks decided to take him 10th overall. Looking back, it's pretty crazy he was taken as high as he was, but a lot of scouts just chalked up his rough season to mismanagement and the fact that he had to take a back seat. Plus, he was a solid defender. I know I didn't bring that up when actually talking about his season at Duke, but he was always considered above average on that side of the floor. Teams thought he would be a lot better if he had the ball in his hands more and got to be himself again. However, he was joining a Hawks team that had Trae Young, John Collins, Jabari Parker, DeAndre Hunter, and Kevin Huerter, who were all 24 or younger. He went from being the third option at Duke to basically being the 5th or 6th. Cam did deal with some nagging injuries, but the inconsistency was showing once again.
And this is what I'm talking about too, when I was watching the Hawks during this time, Nate McMillan would barely play him, especially during that 2020 run to the conference finals. He was barely getting playing time. They were worried more so of DeAndre Hunter letting him play. So, had a lot of players at his position not playing. Well, a lot of people at his position playing in front of him. So,
in his debut against the Pistons,
I feel like that stopped him from playing as people normally thought
he only scored 1 point and shot 0 for 6. Not quite the start he had at Duke, and throughout his first 5 games, he averaged only 6 points and shot under 25% from the field and 8% from 3. From there, he continued to have a rough stretch, but he did start to put together some good games as the season went on. He had his 2 best performances of the season against Brooklyn, a 22.4 steal game against the Spurs, and another 22-point game in a double overtime win against Charlotte. During his rookie season, Cam did show flashes of who he could be, and in those games there was a lot of promise and even more hope. But the consistency just wasn't there whatsoever. He finished the season averaging 10.5 points, 4 rebounds, and 1.5 assists. That was on 38% shooting and 33% from 3. He was solid on defense, but his offense clearly wasn't fully there yet. It was a semi-disappointing rookie season, but like I said, there were some games that gave you just enough hope that he could turn into something really good. But unfortunately, he would only play 26 games throughout his second season before missing the rest of the year with an Achilles injury. It wasn't a complete tear or anything like that, but the team was extremely cautious with him and he had to rehab his way back. He played decently well, but still the consistency wasn't there, and when you combine that with the injuries, his numbers dropped across the board. He did return for the playoffs though, and actually played really well in their series against the Bucks. But in his third season, he would only play 34 games before requesting a trade, which honestly sucked to see because he actually started off the
I didn't even know he requested a trade. That's crazy. He was cold though, that dude, nice.
Season really well, scoring 15 or more points in the first 6 games on good efficiency. He did start to drop off a bit from there, but he still had other big performances like his 34-point night against Orlando and his 33-point night against Chicago. At the end of the day though, it always felt like there was a disconnect. The Hawks were trying to get him to buy into a specific role, while it seemed like Cam still felt the need to be a 20-point per night scorer. If Cam bought into that type of role, I honestly think it could have worked out, but clearly he didn't feel it was the right fit. He was then traded to the Knicks, where he would get to team up with RJ Barrett once again. But after more inconsistency and nagging injuries, he would request another trade just 20 games into the following season. Into the following season. Although it was pretty short-lived, just like his time with the Hawks, there was some good. He also had some stretches where he had a few solid games in a row, but it always reverted back to inefficient shooting and questionable decision-making. The Knicks ended up trading him and a first-round pick to the Blazers for Josh Hart, and I think the Knicks are pretty happy with how that's turned out. Cam finished the rest of the 23-24 season in Portland and honestly played really well. However, the Blazers were quickly ready to move on and let his contract expire, which allowed him to enter free agency. This was the first time in his career he was actually able to pick where he wanted to go. And of course, he ultimately decided to go with the Lakers, who desperately needed defense and shooting. Despite his numbers not looking very good, Cam actually played really well and had a stretch where he was literally starting. For the first time, it finally felt like Cam bought into a role and stopped trying to be a player that he wasn't. He bought into the defensive side of the floor even more and really took the challenge of being a top on-ball defender on the team. Although his shooting was still inconsistent, they needed guard and wing defense badly, so it didn't even really matter. Everything was going pretty well, and I even made a video talking about how he was actually reviving his career. That was until he sprained his ankle and missed over a month. Once he came back, he just didn't feel like the same player. The energy wasn't the same, and the defense that Lakers fans knew him for just wasn't there. He wasn't making the few shots he was taking a game, and also wasn't providing much defensively. And the next season, it was pretty much the same thing. He shot only 40% from the field and 28% from 3 while not showing a whole lot of effort. And to make it even worse for him, in late February, the Lakers would sign a G-Leaguer named Jordan Goodwin, who was better than Cam in literally every aspect. Also, people forget that Cam was a part of that rescinded Don't Connect Mark Williams trade, so he had to come back and join the team as well, but really didn't ever play after that. The Lakers ended up waiving him so they could sign his replacement to a full contract so he could play in the playoffs. It was kind of a fast, but at the same time slow decline. At the end of his Lakers tenure, it didn't even look like he wanted to be on the court. So far, Cam has not lived up to the hype he had when he was in high school, but to be honest, that happens more often than it doesn't. Cam is not the first player we've seen it happen to, and he definitely won't be the last. He was ahead of the game when he was young, but as everyone around him got better, it seemed like Cam didn't. And instead of buying into a role earlier on in his career, it was almost too late by the time he did. The nagging injuries and the lack of consistency ultimately led to his downfall. Like I said in the beginning, there's still a chance the team could give him one last shot, but at this point, who knows? He's been given several opportunities by multiple different teams, and it never panned out for any of them. He was at the Mavericks free agent camp back in June, but nothing really ever came of it. So is this the end for Cam Reddish? Well, we'll just have to see. But let me know what you think about Cam in the comments.
I feel like Cam could for sure bounce back. Shout out to this dude, Courtside Chase, with the W video. I feel like he can bounce back. I didn't even know he got injured that much times for real. But I feel like it's a mixture of injury and also not getting as much playing time. Because when he was with the Hawks, he wasn't playing that much, like I said earlier in the video. But yeah, if y'all made it to the end of this video, like, subscribe, comment down below some more videos y'all want me to react to. I'm out. I'll see y'all next week.